Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., the proud host of the Black USA News Morning Show. How you doing, babies? Today we have a very special titillating Tuesday. Are you ready to be titillated? Are you ready to be titillated? So I got to be honest, you all know how the show goes. Most of the time I have a bunch of show notes and things I shouldn't do, things I should do. But if I'm gonna be honest about how this all manifested, what had happened was, my team thought the topic of this show was going to be something different because I changed it and didn't tell them. They are not happy at all. They are like, wait, what? You're going to talk about the what? The clitoris on the what? And what are you going to say? Wait, you don't know? Oh, they are freaking out right now, and it makes me so happy. So big up to my team. Kyle, Crazy Horse Morgan, the super producer, making sure that we stay focused and on point and in the right direction. Brandy Raymar, our assistant producer, who does a great job of doing background research and making sure that we are interacting with guests and stuff like that. And my personal assistant, because now I'm fancy. This is a fancy guy right here. Personal assistant, Miss Grace Oweka. So yeah, I'm really happy that they are part of the team because this is so hard. But I have an amazing job, but the team makes the difference. Real talk. It's hot in here, and it may not even be hot in here. I just know what the topic is today. Today we're going to talk about the use and care of the clitoris and other sex organs. I'm going to share with you all some of the stories that I've heard about the clitori or clitorises. That's a good one. Is it clitorises or clitori? Because you know words that end in anyway. But you know what? The cool part about this is I got a whole sexual health expert on here today. Because y'all know it's titillizing Tuesdays that I don't titilize by myself, babies. I got my good friend. We roll back. Now this is the appropriate for me to talk about back like what's happening here. All right. Oh, okay. I think I do know what's happening. Got it. This is appropriate show to talk about how we roll back like rubbers. Not that we have ever used rubbers together, because that's not what I'm trying to imply. I'm talking about like how far we go. Like if you use it right, it goes all. All right, so this is probably going to end up being another show note. Got it. But today we're going to talk about my favorite food, the clitoris. I'm so excited so I got to be honest. I won't be doing the show today. I won't. My inner 13-year-old will. So, but before we get there are some official business things I have to do. I want to tell you a little bit about how my company, The Grinding Gang, can help you. Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the Black USA News Morning Show and the president of The Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive, and we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop on grant writing right here. All right, so that's just a little bit about how we help you at the Grinding Gang, and honestly, we try to make sure that our prices stay very reasonable. You can get monthly coaching for $19.99. You can get executive coaching for $49.99. And let's be clear, the people I have on my squad are amazing. They are some of the best to do it in business, and not only have they studied, but they've lived it. So they bring to you not just what they've heard, but what they know, what they've experienced, and help you really make wonderful changes in your business life. So make sure you hit us up. Also big up to Donnie Glover, founder of, I'm trying to get the light out. This. Okay, okay. Donnie's book, I Am Black Wall Street, where he talks not about just Black Wall Street and what happened there, because that's a lot of the narrative we get is like, oh, Black Wall Street happened. It was so horrible how it got destroyed. But he talks about how they got to Black Wall Street. Because if you think about it, Tulsa, Oklahoma ain't nowhere near places where slaves in America slaves were dropped off. And so he talks about how the relationship between slaves, well, actually, a lot of it was military Black folk during the Seminole War, how they moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other places because they were looking for an opportunity to start over, and how they brought their stuff and moved their families and their businesses. Like, it is a really great blueprint, honestly, for some of the things that we should be doing now. So make sure you all cop a copy of I Am Black Wall Street by Donnie Glover. So now, let me see any other show notes. Give me a second. I mean, these aren't show notes for this show because they weren't prepared for that. No, I think we're good. I think it's time, because we made a whole new role in the show. We have the Chief Titillating Officer. So I'm gonna bring you our new CTO, our Chief Titillating Officer, Stacy Dennis. Hey,
call me that. Why? Why? That is not even a thing.
Yeah, that's the Chief Titillating Officer. We titillating on Tuesday, and you the chief of it. You make it happen.
I rebuke all these names you seem to come up with at the 11th hour. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Willie.
So again, I just want to be clear with people. Like, I am a partner on this journey, a show host, and I'm not sure if everybody knows, or I don't actually have a clitoris of my own. Like, people have let me borrow theirs over the years, but I don't have one of my own, so I won't be able to provide any firsthand information on clitorises or clitori or clitorises or whatever we call them, because most of the time when I get them one at a time, so I don't have to think about the plural. That's probably, it's going to be an interesting show. So if you at work, you might want to go ahead and put on some earphones, because I'm comfortable. Words like coming are going to come. I'm going to come often.
It's going to be a long show, people. It's going to be a very, very long show.
All right. Okay.
For me.
So, but here's the thing. So I wanted, so Stacy, wait, you do have a clitoris, right? So, because I think that might be one of the conversations. Because if you don't, then neither one of us are qualified to have this conversation in a meaningful way. It's purely.
I'm absolutely qualified. I am qualified to have this conversation.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
However, may need to sit this one out.
But you know what? That is really good advice, and it sounds like a show note I would ignore.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, so here's so I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I've heard as a male person over the years about the clitoris, and kind of give me your response. Because one of the things that I want this to be, and it to be very clear, I want this show to be a reference for men. I want men to understand more about be able to come and look at this and be like, oh, that's what that. Oh my God, it works like, oh, like I want that to happen. But I also want this to be an opportunity for women to see that we don't necessarily know what the hell is going on down there.
We already know that.
That's not.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And
we already know that.
No,
I mean, this is not necessarily a conversation for women. This is most likely going to be new for your male, no matter how much they may want to be like, oh, I know that.
They don't.
Probably don't. It's fine.
But honestly, I have experienced women over the course of my life that really did not understand how their bodies were. And you and I have talked about this because of the way, especially a lot of Christian religions or a lot of religions, is, it's a nasty place down there. It's just really nasty. You only do it for
So we'll get into that. We'll absolutely get into that. There's all kind of myths, and I'm gonna focus on Western culture.
Okay, good.
About the myths regarding the female anatomy. And unlike men, who your sexual organ, your reproductive organ, and your excretory organ, the one you pee out of, is all in the same thing, because
say excretory again. That sounded really
no. No. So it's all in the same organ because I'm assuming God had to make you simple,
That's
but
disrespectful.
it's okay.
No, that's disrespectful. Come on, let's not go down that. Let's not go down that far. Let's not do that. We trying to
God
make this
had to,
educational.
God had to
It's gonna be
simplify the
difficult.
plans for
It's gonna
your
have to.
body.
It's gonna be difficult to educate people when you just gonna start off insulting them. So if you're gonna insult us, let me give you something to work with. So I've
Today
heard.
I choose violence, but
Okay. So,
but
I
today,
ain't scared of that. But here,
so
let me
in,
tell you some of the stuff. Oh, good.
but unlike that, women's organs are, our functions have separate, and the clitoris is the little nub, and it's been called the little hill, the large battery, the explosion, the Big Bang. It's been called a lot of things, but that little nub at the top of our vagina, that little hill, all that little part is, and I'm gonna say little because in some women it's rather large.
And by the way, if you have a very large one, that's not something to be ashamed of.
It is
I can guarantee you 1000% that there's some brothers and some sisters out there who like that more. Because like there's a whole
Yeah, it's not. It's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. You just have a
there's a
larger
whole
one.
porn channel about big clits. So like you are well placed. So go ahead. Sorry. I
So
know
that
that's
what you see on the surface is just, it's like the tip of the iceberg. This, like, I think it was guesstimated at 4,000 nerve endings up under that. And it is not just that nub, it is the whole system that surrounds a woman's the labor of her vagina. So when you focus on it, understand that you're focusing on the part with the largest subset of nerves. And depending on how you treat it, it could be very pleasurable or very painful.
yeah.
You may get hit if you mistreat it. I mean, you may get hit.
That's true. That's very true. I'm not telling you what I think, telling you what I know.
The sex may stop. You may be banned forever. But it is the tip of the iceberg, and so it is not taught how to care for it. It's not by the opposite sex, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And then some women just ignore it. It's just there until they get older, and they're like, "That thing feels good."
What is this? Wait a
Right?
minute.
It's like, that's awesome. You do that again. Something just happens, and it, they actually feel it go off, and they're like, "That's amazing." Do that again.
Yeah.
So it's not just that one point, that one part that you see on the outside.
All right, so that's really helpful to understand for some guys who are like, oh, okay, so you just so because I've heard things like some of my friends, not friends, but I've been in rooms where guys are like, yo, and these are the guys who believe they know. It's like, yo, if you trying to really make her come or whatever, just like take the clit and just flip it real fast, like a light switch real fast, and like if you do that real quick, she gonna come every time, and it's like, oh no sir, no sir, no sir. Again, from what I've been told, it's not that. It is not just something you play with to make something happen. Let's talk a little bit about how you should care for. Well, let's first, before we talk about the sexual pleasure, how do you care for it? Like, how do you just yeah, because I don't I don't have one, so I don't know. Like, do you treat
You mean
it
like hygiene? Is
Huh?
the hygiene? You mean like hygiene?
Hygiene, underwear? I don't know. Like, I don't have one. I'm trying to learn. Like, how do you care for it? Is
Just
there
like
any
you would.
special way?
No, there's no special cream or anything that you need to put on it because it really is a bunch of nerve endings, and you don't want to mistreat it because you will feel it.
Mm,
There has been so in another iteration of me, I used to sell toys, and I used to sell sexual toys, and so a lot of them are focused on stimulating the clitoris,
mhm.
and that's great. And you always hear the guys talk about, oh, this thing, it sounds like a car engine, and that's nice and all, but that much stimulation on that many nerve endings, depending on what, it could be painful. So you definitely don't want to mistreat it. I had a hospital client, a patient, fall the wrong way on a bike. There was a bar, and it hit right on her. She felt that thing for like several days afterwards, because she wanted us to check it out,
Mhm.
make sure everything was okay down there, like she didn't break it. because she felt, and I said, you may have bruised it. I said, you fell right on it? She says, I slipped off the pedal and her crotch hit the bar.
I know.
And
I
was
never
like,
understood why anybody has a bar right there. That doesn't even make sense to me.
Never made sense to me. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, you rode that type of bike? First of all, ow. Ow. And so she felt it a few days later. I mean, she, you know, just like a guy who got kneed in the nuts, she was grabbing her crotch. And I was like, that's basically what happened. You need yourself and you're right.
Yeah.
So you don't want to mistreat it. You don't want to stop blood flow to it.
Okay. Okay.
How
would you stop blood flow to it? Like, yeah, wow, I didn't know that was possible.
Then we're gonna have to get into other cultures where in dissection of that organ is
You're talking about the
thing.
genital mutilation type thing?
Right. Right.
Yeah. You don't have to. That wasn't actually part of the conversation today. If you're comfortable moving in that direction, we can. But
that's why I said we're going to focus on Western culture.
Right.
Because so, I'm not learned enough. I know what it is, and I know what it is when I see it on a patient, but I'm not learned enough in the cultures behind it in order to talk.
No problem.
To talk about it.
I am not learned in either the culture or the organ. So yeah, I'm with you. Because if you was going to talk about that, all I had is like, don't cut up the clit. Oh no.
Hello?
That was all I had to contribute to
Hello.
that conversation.
I do know that from what I've been told from the patients that it is part of a couple tribes and is part of some cultures, and it is used to control her pleasure.
Yes.
Which is why I'm focusing on Western, because I can't speak with in all cultures you want to have a modicum of respect for a culture that is not your own.
Yeah.
And I just at that point, given what I do, I couldn't find it in me to do that. So I was like, I'm just not going to
make sense.
I was like, what the hell? So yeah.
So one of the things you talked about is in your life with selling toys or whatever, that it could be pleasurable or it could be painful depending on where you were in the sexual process. Correct. So what I want to also know is that, so I have talked to some people who had used vibrators, not necessarily dildos, but vibrators for so long for direct clitoral stimulation that when they transitioned to a partner, that they were never really able to achieve climax or they had to include a vibrator in the sexual activity. So is that, and again, is this just a limited circumstance for like a few women, or
I think it is. I think it is. However, I've had those conversations with people that's like, I just can't get off unless it's a toy. And I was like, so tell me about your sex with your partner. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because did you give the man a chance? Are you expecting him to go like the Energizer Bunny? That's not fair. You can't expect him to go all turbo, transform his penis into a right. You know what I mean? That's not
wait, though, guys, that what I just did is actually very helpful. When it comes to clitoral play, the humming, deep humming, especially if you got some baritone up in you, put it.
Focus on the topic, my man. You cannot jump.
Clitoris, you get. No. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
No.
Oh, sorry.
You asked me a question, and the question had to do with women and being probably overstimulated. And a lot of, and this is only with the conversations I had, given what it is that I do. And so I had to ask them, I was like, did you talk to them about what it is that you liked? Because there are other ways other than stimulating your clitoris that a woman can achieve pleasure in an orgasm. So that's like, did you tell it? Did you tell him? Did you have a conversation, or you just imagine him? You just wanted him to read your mind and just focus on that, because it's not fair.
Right. Absolutely.
And so she's like, I was like, right. I mean, there are other things. Do you like to be massaged? Do you like your neck stimulated? Do you like to be kissed down your spine? There are other things that can stimulate your clitoris other than, this gigantic, other than a toy.
Right.
And the whole reason you got a partner was to help complete, that part of your relationship. You can't leave him out of it. You can't have him thinking that his only purpose is to bring you D-sized batteries. Because how would he feel? Because I'd be like, he has nothing for me to do here. I can get Amazon to give her these batteries. They'll be on Tuesday, babe. So you can't leave him out of that process. I said, this is the thing. This is a whole process, and I'm glad that you know what you like, but what you like and what stimulates you can't just be the toy.
And if you do, that means that having a partner is going to be problematic.
Exactly.
Okay. So one of the other parts, you mentioned that the clitoris is part of kind of the sexual experience, all of the nerves and things like that. But one of the other pieces that I'm interested in is how does it play in with the orgasm itself? Because I've read a whole bunch of different things, and not even read, just heard a whole bunch of different things like, oh, if the G spot is in the clitoris, the G spot is under the clitoris, the G spot, or if you don't know how to handle the clitoris, she can't achieve orgasm. Move the hood, don't move the hood. Like it's a lot of information. And what I actually started realizing is that none of it is true for every woman.
It's not. That's exactly what I was about to say. And I was like, what, you want a one size fits all? Y'all don't do one size fit all. Why do we have to? That's not what it is. What stimulates every woman is different. And some women like a certain type of pressure on theirs, and some women don't. Some women don't like theirs touched at all. I've met a couple of them. I'm like, really? I mean, okay, but why? And it could have been that they had a traumatic experience. So they just don't like it. They just don't. You don't know what you're doing anyway. Nobody knows what they're doing. Just leave it alone.
Actually, I had a friend who
You
talked
can
about.
I
had a friend who talked about oral sex like that. She was like, I never wanted ever blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh no. And she was like, yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I'm a good friend. If you ever need some help with that, yeah, I am so there for you. Because just walking around life like, oh no, getting eaten out is horrible. Like, I don't feel that I'm a good friend if I'm just letting you have those types of experiences in life. So maybe she ain't take me up on it, but I'm a good friend. Rita says that she noticed over the years that clitoral stimulation and orgasm can definitely be a form of pain relief too. And actually, that's one of the things that we've talked about in other shows, like the value of the orgasm and how it can stimulate or help you relax and a whole bunch of other stuff.
It does. Do you remember like in a earlier show where I was talking about you could tell when people just haven't had sex, they just miserable, and it's like please, you go to work and your boss is on your ass and you just like, please just go eat a just go.
Please, thank you.
Please.
That would make all of us feel a lot better right now.
Oh my God, it'll make you change your life. I know. Shoot, my son was able to get a car, and I put him on my insurance. That wasn't going to happen. So the friend was like, come here, let's go out. Now I came back and I was like, fine, you can have to go. Maybe I was being unreasonable. So
actually, Rita says we should the value of the orgasm. That Rita, we might have to bring you in to help co-author, ghostwrite, or something on that, because
I'm saying it changes minds. It releases endorphins. The orgasm itself releases endorphins. It puts you in a good mood. For women, it helps with ovulation. You know what I mean? It gives you that glow. That, oh, you're glowing. Damn right I am. Take advantage of it, because once it wears off, honey,
yeah.
It really is a thing, and the clitoris is a major part of that. Once orgasm is achieved through the clitoris, the G spot is another, because no one knows.
Now,
a lot of women don't know what it is. Men don't know what it is either.
Is that no one like no one like, or is that
it's a bunch of glands, and you really, on your partner, you really have to train yourself in finding out where it is. And once a woman becomes aroused, those glands tend to become you tend to feel them more, and they're on the inside of the vagina. If you insert your fingers in, curl your fingers up towards her mons, which is the top of her.
Fupa. Is that a fupa?
Okay.
I'm just saying because I'm trying to understand how all this stuff work together.
If you curl your fingers up, and and massage that area, you could feel it. You know what I mean? So, but once again, you can't just poke at. This is just gonna be. We're gonna get banned. You can't just poke at it. and for every woman, what stimulates her is different, which is why I've said for the last several weeks, your communication with your partner is absolutely key. And it's okay for your first couple times having sex being like, is this it? Is this it? Because you're trying to learn each other. You don't walk in like, I know you. She's like, no, you don't. Take your best shot, homie. You know? So it is all a learning process. But I just want to put this out there for the viewers, just so you can chuckle. When I was researching all the research about the clitoris, and when I found out who discovered the clitoris in 1559,
wait, before you go, you got the full screen to talk about that. Go ahead.
I just needed to put this out here. If you do a quick, just go on your Google and just do a search for the clitoris and who discovered it. Go ahead, so you can cuss too. Columbus, not the Columbus that discovered America. I want to get his first name right. Ronaldo?
Yeah, it was something like Ronaldus Columbus or something like that.
Ronaldus Columbus in 1559 discovered the clitoris. I'm sitting here and I was like, you cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. This is ridiculous.
That's a family tradition because his ancestor discovered America.
I just can't. Well, and meanwhile, every other woman in history is like, right, you discovered it. Right. I'm so glad that it took you to discover it. I was like, I can't. I busted out laughing because I had never heard of that before. That has never been part of my teaching.
That's ridiculous.
So just to give y'all a kiki.
Rita mentioned this, and I've heard about this before: the inner versus the outer orgasm, and some people call it the clitoral versus vaginal, and like. So there are different types of orgasms, and a lot of people, as men, let me say men, a lot of men is still trying to figure out one of them. Just like, oh, can I just get you the one?
So you're talking about the squirt versus non-squirt? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I don't. I thought that was a whole different category by itself too. So again, this is part of the conversation that we're having because this is complicated, and I love the fact that you identified that the first couple of times in your sexual activity, it should be exploration. Because, I don't know your body, you don't know my body, we're just showing up here. And if we don't have the conversation, if we don't explore, then how do we know what we're doing? Because basically what I end up doing is treating you like everybody else I've slept with up to this point, because how are you all different?
Exactly. You know what? I've read so many articles, because what you see in porn is the squirter. That's what you see in porn. Oh my God, she squirted. It's the height of it. I did so good. And I was like, but that's not for every woman. Every woman doesn't perform in that area. Just because she does not sit there and all of a sudden flood you like a water hose doesn't mean that you have not performed. And she did not get pleasure out of it. It's just that she doesn't. She just doesn't. And then there's some women that absolutely do. And I've read so many articles, and you got to be careful of those articles because some of them are just not based on science or fact. And you just gotta understand where your source material is coming from. Some women do get stimulation and end up squirting from the clitoris. It just is. And it is your pleasure. It is your main pleasure organ, and its only focus, its only purpose for being there is to give the woman pleasure. That's it. Nothing else. It's not for reproduction. It's not for, for peeing or, for excretion in any. It is simply for her pleasure. And if you want your partner to have the best time with you, you will learn how hers works. That's it. You will learn how hers works. And then you can, and understand that it's not just that little nub. It is the whole area around it. Start at the tip of the iceberg, and it's the whole entire area. Do not just treat that little thing like that's the only thing you focused on, because you'll miss so much more.
Actually, I found that there are a lot of women who are very stimulated by the underside of the clitoris, the part that leads into the vagina, like that portion there. Like that is a highly sensitive area for some women and not for some others. Exactly. And so it kind of goes, and again, I really appreciate that no matter what our topic is, you are always able to bring it back to the need for having effective communication in this sexual space.
Because that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
That is the hard part. Like I said before, some women and men find it easier to drop their drawers than it is to have a conversation. Because, the conversation, you can get your feelings hurt, especially if you're not up to snuff.
Right.
Or you can't perform it. You know what I mean? Or you can't do what she needs or he needs for the pleasure. And so the conversation is the hard part. It can stop things before it can even get started. Or if you are two people committed to each other, you can go on that journey together, and it could be fantastic. It could be really great to sit there like, baby, I saw this in a Kama Sutra. How limber are you? Like, did you do yoga today? Because I want to try this, and it's a thing, and you could end up, okay, this is going to be probably too much, but I did one of those. I was like, so check it out. So one of the books I'm researching, I was like, check it out. I went to hot yoga all this week.
But also,
all you got to do is center your center of gravity.
Make sure if you are preparing for something like that, make sure you let your partner know, because there is nothing worse than one of you all showing up very limber and prepared and the other one is a little bit stiff. That is not.
And that's the part. That is the partner. That is the part where you are doing this together. It's like, so check it. So I've been in yoga all week, and if you could just sit in my center of gravity and I don't get lightheaded from being upside down, let's make it happen. He was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? But right. He was like, you said nothing but a word. Say less, sis, let's go. But that was me trying to do my part and trying to do something new. You know what I mean? Instead of being limber, I should have focused on my upper body strength, because being in that handstand was but in either case.
But now you have information that you can build on for the next time, or if there's going to be a next time.
Exactly. I was like, okay, so I'll be pumping the iron for a minute. I'm decreasing my intake of pork chops. So, it's that type of thing. But that's the whole part of it. And it's not just a clit. It's the whole area around it. The clitoris is not just the nub. It's that whole area. And first, you respect it as the woman. You respect that this is your body. This is how you work. And then you'll be able to teach your partner.
Right.
And just be okay with understanding that men don't walk in. No, God, no. They don't walk in knowing what to do with it. No. Some of them have to be taught.
No. That's not true. That is not
true. Yes,
it
is. I taught my son before he went to college.
So wait. Which part of it isn't true, though?
What? Did some of them have to be taught?
Yes. What am I talking about? No, that is not true. All of them need to be taught, because to say some of them needs to be taught means that some of them know what the hell they're doing when they walk in a room, and that is disrespectful.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so I taught so before my son went off to college, I was like, so you're not going to embarrass me with piss poor peen performance. So come down here and have a seat so I can tell you the rest of it. And he was like,
but even with that, one of the things, and because I know you, one of the things that you taught him is like you taught him the basics, but you also taught him to have the conversation with his partner. And that piece is like all the learning about the female anatomy is great and is very helpful to get you started. But that is kind of saying, like, it's like studying Black people and then being like, oh yeah, I know how Stacey's gonna act because she's Black and I've studied Black people. I've read all
Correct.
about being Black.
Correct. No.
And so, hey, Stacey, what's up, homegirl? It's
Right.
like, ooh,
Right. Right.
ooh.
So with full disclosure, understand that I'm teaching a young man.
Yeah.
I'm telling him so that the information is not foreign to him when he finally has his relationships. He'll be like, my mom did tell me, you know, so it's not foreign to him, but he's still a young man. He only gonna the ability to have that level of conversation maybe a little later as he gets a little older, but hopefully it won't be so old because he's already been told. And as uncomfortable as it may have been for having that information come from his mother. But he's been with me his entire life as I've done this. So me hearing the words is just, it doesn't faze him as much. He'll just sit there like this now, like, okay. And I'm so glad.
So Rita makes a point here. It says our emotional well-being and feeling safe matters a lot when it comes to letting go in bed. And so that
Absolutely.
brings us to the other sexual organ, your brain.
Absolutely.
So
Can I tell you how many times that thing won't go off if up here is not satisfied?
Please tell me. I don't have one of my own, so I can't participate.
It's like, once again, this may be TMI, but but this turns off if this up here is not satisfied. And she's absolutely right. You have to be safe and comfortable with your partner. And in these conversations, you and I default to people who are in a willing relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So we default to people who are in a willing relationship, meaning we are assuming that you feel comfortable with this person. You know? But there are circumstances where the sexual activity may be a jump off or one night. You're not entirely comfortable. Unwilling partners are not the purview of these conversations. So that's a whole nother legal conversation.
That's a conversation where we get law enforcement involved.
Exactly. So we are defaulting to the fact that these are willing partners in a consensual, safe, sane, and consensual relationship.
Adult relationship as well, because we talk about youth, but that's not the purview of these types of conversations.
Exactly. So with that being said, even if you are, maybe, you're still dating, you dated for a minute, he still has to make you feel comfortable in bed for things to turn on. Women are wonderfully made, and there are some triggers, you hit the right ones, you're going to have a good night. And so are we. But if you don't, we'll dry up like the Sahara, and you'll sit there and just, I've had to stop one where I'm like, you don't see the tumbleweeds falling out of here? It's like sand dunes and stuff. Dude, we got to stop. Just stop. You tearing stuff up. There's pieces of me lying on the floor because there's no moisture down there. I can't. Just I was like, yeah, that was a part of me for a second. You just tried to drill your way through, like, no, bruh, no.
So let's talk about that, because a lot of guys, we learn sex from porn or our friends who tell us how it goes, and most of the time, real talk, they've not experienced it or have done it well. And so we come to the table, it's like, either we perceive that you all are made similarly, or we don't care. And I'm not specific. I'm not talking about the guys who don't care, because again, there's a whole conversation about that. So when we come in, we're coming in like, she wants it, and duh, 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 duh. But again, I love the fact that the conversation is important.
And they either don't care, or they have they don't understand what it is that they should be looking for in a turned on woman. Does that make sense?
Because in porn,
she
will do it.
She's into it. Will she come like 5-6 times? And she's sitting there like, not even once, bro.
But in porn, a pizza will get you good. a large, and if there's a large penis around, you can't control yourself, and you just have to jump on it. Like it just.
Exactly. That's
So if I show it to you, you're
not
gonna be
it.
like, "Oh my God, look at that!" But
You
that's
know,
that's not a reasonable perspective for most women.
and that's honestly, that's why honest conversations and not necessarily porn, which is performance for y'all. I just want y'all to understand it's performance, it's entertainment. You know, it's not the gospel. I mean, you can get some great positions out of some of it, but you still have to do the work if you want, if your end result is your partner's orgasm and your orgasm. If that is your result, then you'll have to do other things. If your result is your orgasm, you may get off, but you may not also have that partner again because she'd be like, I could have had a V8, you
Touche.
know.
Touche.
You know what I mean? And so much of this is necessary for so much of this means that we have to talk about proper education for the sexes. You have to talk about you have to talk about proper education for the sexes, and it includes anatomy and physiology and how it works and what it looks like when it's aroused, and when to touch it and when not to touch it. One of my first labs in nursing school, this is a while ago, and we were doing putting in a Foley catheter. She was like, there is one area down here in the vagina you do not need to touch. It's a catheter. Don't worry about it.
Well,
But
let people know what a catheter is, because some people may never.
it's a tube that gets inserted through your urethra up to your bladder so you can pee. So in the female, the urethra is located just below the clitoris. And you have to know which one is which. And she was like, there's no medical reason to touch that clitoris. And she's right, because it's a pleasure organ. What are you touching it for? You know what I mean? But men don't get that anatomy and physiology. I mean, they may go through it in school and just, jump right over it, but in you don't get that anatomy and physiology. And in sex, we want you to intentionally touch it. And I want you to understand by my facial expressions, the way I'm moving, what I'm saying, the way I'm breathing, whether you're doing a good job or not. And you have to be cognizant that that's what you have to look out for in your partner to see whether you're doing it right. And if not, ask her, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this right? Should I ease up? Do you want it a little more pressure? Please don't flick stuff. Don't pluck stuff. You're just trying to get hurt at that point. You're just trying to get the feelings hurt.
And because here's the thing that I have learned: women who enjoy flicking and that type of pain in that space, or that type of those pressures, they are comfortable with it, and they will let you know. They're like,
Exactly.
no, harder.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So remember when I said
flashback.
the spectrum of sex goes very wide from absolutely no, unless it's for, procreation, to hang from the ceiling. It's very, very wide. And so are women's preferences. Just like, when we have a conversation on male preferences, and I get to turn this whole conversation around. So is the the women's conversation, the women's pressures. And you just have to know your partner. And you will if you care.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing right there. I appreciate the fact, and I was just thinking about this, the fact that you said that the goal of sex also drives the sex. If your goal of sex is your own orgasm, then that will drive how you engage your partner. Your partner's
Exactly.
pleasure is a function of you getting off. And so if it's like any other kind of algorithm or calculus, how much pleasure do I have to give you so that I can get to my space? And some of that, to me at least, goes back to your piece about communication. Let me explain to you what makes me feel good, how this works. And to one of the points that Rita made earlier, sometimes you learn that by being your own partner. Like there have been times as I've matured, masturbation no longer takes the let me just rub this out real quick so I can get a nap in. It you know, as I've matured, I've had opportunities to explore, and they're like, I like this combination. Okay, hey, could you do this to me? Because when I did it, it felt good, and I think it'll feel better if you do it. And that's okay. And so is that the same for women with clitoral stimulation or understanding your sex organs? Do you take time, or are you just trying to rub one out?
I mean, do we take time to masturbate?
No, like when you masturbate, is it an educational or exploration activity, or should it just be
it's
to rub one
absolutely
out?
educational because some move way too much TMI for me right now.
Oh, no,
Some
this is one of my
movement.
best. This is one of my favorite shows. I love learning so much about you.
I got to do something else on Tuesdays. I have got to do something else on Tuesdays. It is how and this is having that conversation with yourself is the best way to teach somebody else. Because I know what type of pressure I like, and so does the next woman. She knows what kind of pressure she likes, or maybe she's one of those people who is fine with a toy, and then there are some of us who really need a human behind that toy.
Right.
Because other stimulation is needed. The kissing down the spine is my turn, just my thing. It could be different for other women, and there's so much that we don't know about ourselves before we force that responsibility onto somebody else. Like, I don't know what I like, but I need you to know. That's not fair either. Unless,
I've never heard it placed like that, forcing the responsibility of your pleasure onto somebody else.
That's not fair.
No, it's not.
It's not fair. It's kind of cruel too, because how can they ever achieve it if you don't know what you like? How are you going to give somebody direction? How are you going to be like, that's not it. That's not it either. That's not it. That's not it either. Well, what is it? Not sure. So you're just going to sit here and make me work for hours and we're not even sure?
Well, honestly, you know what? I've actually seen the outgrowth of that. There was a young lady that I was talking to, and she was talking about how she had found this guy who does blah, 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 and it makes her feel good, and he is good every time. And I was like, well, that's cool that you know that, but he also wasn't like a really good partner, not sexual partner, but like a really good relationship partner. And she was like, well, I mean, part of it is like, I've never been able to feel like this with anybody else. So there's things that I'm willing to compromise. And I was like, but now that you know how to feel this way, you might be able to, she's like, yeah, no, I've had other partners and it's never happened. So, and for her, it's like, he is because, and I think, and I also know her well enough to know that she doesn't masturbate, that she always thought that was ew. And so now you have somebody who's figured out how this works. And now she believes that he's the magic wand. Like she needs him to enjoy sexual pleasure, and without him, she won't be able to do it. And I'm like, I can't say that's not true because, like I mentioned before, I don't have a clitoris, but or a female sexual organ. Like I said, I borrow them. I don't get to keep them. But can you talk about that? Like, is that true? Is there like sometimes some positions that there is only one person that can get you to achieve sexual satisfaction?
So much of the female, as you alluded to earlier, so much of our sex is in our head, and she may only think that way, and because of that, and I'm only guesstimating since I haven't had a conversation with this lady, that she's mentally closed her mind to anybody else. So it's very hard for someone to meet that standard if you already looking at someone being like, but you can't. You know what I mean? You're not going to put yourself in the same headspace in order to try with another partner. But she's kind of closed herself off to any other person mentally. And remember when I said, as the mind goes, the body will follow.
You did say that.
So if she's closed herself off to any other partner being able to give her the pleasure that she's seeking, then her body's going to be like, yep, fuck him. Oh, God dang it! With you on this thing, and my mouth just goes.
that's what we're supposed to do. Like,
no,
the hell, this is
we are not.
Oh,
I am not.
What? Wait, are they giving you show notes too? They're
No,
not supposed to
give
do
me
that.
shows.
Oh, I was about to say nobody should be sending you show notes. That's disrespectful. You're the guest. Oh yeah, yeah. We sorry. We sorry. That's yeah.
Just
Yeah.
blurt me out. Just blurt that part out. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no. Actually, that might be the clip that we send throughout the internet. That might be the advertising for this show today.
Oh God, I'm never gonna get a job again. So I'm just so glad I work for myself.
Shot it. You ain't never lied about that. So okay, we got about 9 minutes. All right.
Mhm.
So in this last little bit, when we were talking about it, I would like for us to really talk about this. How do you communicate? So, like, as a guy, I'm like, hey, new lover. I was watching Titillating Tuesdays with Stacey Dennis because she be teaching me about sex ed and all that other stuff. I am so happy that she does that. Let me make sure. Oh, let me see. Do I have it? Yeah, she teaches. Oh, here you go. She got a whole dissertation and stuff up. I read her stuff and I wanna hit it and but I want you to have orgasms too, inner, outer, around her, whatever. What do I say to her? Excuse me, can I play with your clitoris and learn about it? Could you give me a diagram?
That's not what happens. People ease into these conversations, right? Because sex is
Okay.
extremely personal.
Okay.
That's sex, and that's one thing that I tried to have conversations with my clients who were in the STD clinic, and I was like, "You're only going to tell me but so much because sex is extremely personal. So I'm gonna try to get as much out of you so I can get this investigation on." But people tend to ease into these conversations, feeling out your partner, unless you've been with each other a long time and you can just let out, babe, what do you think it is? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you ease into these conversations, and if I was the lady, if I was in a new relationship, it's like, so, what do you think about this? And try to feel them out. Try to see what they know.
Okay.
You want to see how much your partner knows. You don't want to go into a relationship thinking that he's a complete idiot. Everyone comes into a relationship with their own experiences and things like that.
Hmm.
You'd be surprised at what, the male knows about it, because of his previous experiences. And you take the good stuff from your previous experiences and you try to use it, see if it fits the next one. That's what
Okay.
usually happens. Um, but you don't go into it being like, I know you're a complete idiot. Let me tell you what this is.
But
Unless
again,
they
I'm talking
don't.
about very, very practical things. So, like, how do I start off the conversation about our clitoris? Is like, does
Like, baby, come in, let me talk to you about your clitoris. No, honestly, I've never known you sit at the breakfast table and you want to talk about somebody's clitoris. That never, I've never had a client that tells me that that's what happened. It usually happens when you're in the bed and you're exploring. You play. God dang you. I can't. I quit. I try so hard, God.
but because I don't, I mean, think about me. I
I
ask you, do
try
you like girls
so
when I
hard.
meet you? I ask people, do they like girls when I meet them at happy hour? So, like,
I try so hard, God. Every Tuesday, I
you
try, and
you
I just
do
can't.
try, and I am so grateful for the effort. I just don't know why you do. So like, so if
So
if
it
you start,
usually happens during play.
okay,
They're sitting there, they're fooling around, they're playing, having a good time. Um, and then it evolves into, a real sex after a certain point because you done stimulate the shit up. You done stimulated her to death.
right,
And so
but there's
y'all
no
can turn
conversation
on.
right there. That's what I'm saying. How do I have the conversation? Like, as we're playing, do I like, wait, before I go touch
Yeah,
it, how do you want me to touch it?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Thank you. That
That's it.
that is because sometimes we sitting here think we make up these stories in our head like I have a diagram and I would like to do this to you with this part and this part. And it's like we don't feel comfortable with that. Or we think that if we don't know what to do, then we won't be able to hit it. Like we have to ask questions. She's gonna be like, oh, he don't know what to do. And honestly, I've heard people say that. I've heard some of my female
Mhm.
friends, and that's why I love that point you made about putting the responsibility on somebody else. Because a lot of times we just assume that people should know what to do when they get to the bedroom.
My God, I hate this subject. So much TMI. That's exactly what happened my first time. I had an
Mhm.
older partner, and he
Mhm.
was 6 years older. I'm like, you 6? No, he wasn't. 8 years. I think he was 8 years older.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and it was my first time. So one of us got to know what we're doing. I don't, just sit there and like,
Go ahead. I'm having sex, I think.
what we doing? Because damn it, I didn't know what I was doing, so it's not, and God bless him, he was gentle, but it's not fair to put that on him, but he knew that it was my first time. So that time was a lot of exploring.
Okay.
And he really did. It's probably why I like older men now. So I was like, thank you, Lord. But and he really did. And he did a lot of petting, and he was watching my face. So he wasn't so engrossed that he didn't realize that his partner was inexperienced, and he was watching and I knew he was watching my face because I was watching his. So like, what we doing? But that's nice.
Wait, how did you do that? Wait, do that again. Do that again.
Literally is what I said. Awesome. As you get older, you now know the things that you like and some of the stuff that you don't like. It's not fair to put all of it, on the partner. And that's why communication is absolutely fantastic. So if he goes in expecting you, he said, "You gonna pee on me?" And she's like, it's not urine. If a woman has that ejaculation, it actually comes from a gland near the clitoris. It actually comes from a gland, and if you treat it right, you may get some of that ejaculate. It's a milky white ejaculate. I know we didn't discuss it, but that's exactly what happens in that squirting. That big fire hose you see on TV it's most likely fake, but there's a little bit of urine in it, but it's not coming from your bladder. Okay, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. But as you know what, I think I deserve an applause because there was almost so much TMI that just happened there. I was like, oh wait, I don't even have to say that now. Huh. That's so wonderful. I feel proud of myself. So hey, you want to talk about squirting next week?
No. We this covers it. You cannot have an hour of squirting.
It depends who it is.
Walked right into that one. Walked right into that one. It's just no.
And you know what? I got to give you props. Like, I got to give you so much props. I love co-hosting Titillating Tuesdays with you because you are so good at this. Like, you were able to calm down my inner 13-year-olds. Oh, wait, let's pay attention. This is actually serious shit. Okay, give me a second. Because before it was like clitoris jokes, clitoris jokes, clitoris jokes, clitoris jokes.
He was going to do clitoris dad jokes for a straight hour. And I was like, you'll see a blank screen on there.
But so, and again, I really do appreciate because although I want to have fun and I enjoy my job, but it is also incredibly important to me that we provide people clear, meaningful information that can really help them transform how they engage. And that's why I wanted to, especially that part about how do you have that conversation, just really, it's practical. Like, excuse me, I'm about to do this. Is this okay? And it also helps you practice consent. And recognize your partner may not be used to that because they may not have had a partner who has been into them just trying to bust off.
You would be amazed about, since we're so, a lot of our sex happens in our brain, and the first place you need to stimulate is up here. And you'd be amazed at how fast you will turn a woman on if you focus on, babe, is this okay with you? And you'd be like, yeah! And you hadn't even touched her yet. It's like, I can't wait to get home. Can't wait to get home. Can't wait to get home. Can't wait to get home.
You know what's cool? I agree with you. We should not have a conversation next week about squirting. You're right. We should not spend a whole hour on that. So what we'll do instead is spend the whole hour on the orgasm period, so that we can encompass squirting. I appreciate you. You're right. You're absolutely right.
No, we covered that. That makes no sense. No.
Wait, I'm sorry. A show about orgasms don't make sense. Explain to me that. Because we could do a whole other hour on you explaining that.
Hour talking about.
You know what? You can't have it both ways, because this I'm gonna call bullshit on you. You can't have it both ways. You can't talk about how people don't have enough clear communication about sex, and then when I'm like, let's talk about sex, you're like, no, not
It's
right
not even talking about sex. It is you. It is
now.
you, because you about to just.
Okay, you know what? I
I
get that. Yeah,
already get comments for people being like, "Are you able to calm him down?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
no.
It's no, it's not."
Many have
The most
tried
I
and
can do is
all have
sit here
failed.
like this.
Yeah, many have tried, all have failed. It's okay. But honestly, that's why I love doing these with you, because left to my own devices, this would not be very educational.
Basically, left to your own devices. I just don't.
Oh, no. Oh, the funny part is that if you think that, you clearly don't know what kind of devices I bring.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
No.
I'm barely able to hold on. All right.
Yeah, but the thing
Thank
is
you for
that,
this week.
yeah. Okay, so you know what? You got today is Titillating Tuesday. By Thursday, send me a topic you want to talk about. Otherwise, we talk about orgasms for an hour, squirting types.
I got you.
Yeah, it's up to you, because I'm with it.
I got you.
Cool in the gang, baby. Thank you so much for you just always come and bring not just entertainment, but like you bring quality information. You bring I am grateful for you. Oh, and
Thank you
thanks
for the
to Rita
opportunity,
too.
babe.
Thanks to Rita too. Rita's been a really had great engagement. I love it. All right, so before Donnie start getting mad because we still on here and the hour has passed, I'm gonna go ahead and get up off here. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be titillating next week, baby. And again, Stacy Dennis, our chief titillating officer. I'll talk to you next week, babe.
Bye.
Yo, do I know dope people or do I not know dope people? That's a rhetorical question, because you know I do. And I appreciate Stacy joining me every Tuesday to titillate you all. We may be talking about the orgasm next week, or we may be talking about something, professional, intellectual, sexual that Stacy picks, whatever. I again have had a wonderful time, and I am so grateful for you for being here, for joining us, for really engaging in the conversation. And big up to Rita for being an active participant in today's conversation. Whew. And again, we made it through. I'm tired. I'm gonna have to take a nap or something before my next meeting, because I feel myself. I am extremely titillated right now. Might be some other stuff. Ooh. TMI. Stacy did talk about TMI. I'm gonna not do TMI, and I will be black tomorrow. Welcome to BlackUSA.news.